So India's farmers can finally heave a sigh of relief. This as the latest India-US trade talks respect the country's red lines. Union Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has clarified there's going to be no compromise, especially as far as sectors of agriculture and dairy are concerned. In fact, according to him, staple crops like millets, fruit and dairy remain fully protected. Small and marginal farmers will not be facing any sudden foreign competition, and concerns over US farm imports have been addressed as well. In fact, the deal could boost exports of rice, spices and textiles, benefiting millions of Indians. The Memorandum of Understanding is set to be signed very soon, and the final agreement is expected to be on the table by March. Government says the full details of the deal will be shared in the Parliament in due course as well. So let's break it down for you in terms of what to expect from this first tranche of the bilateral trade agreement. Rice, wheat, soybean, corn, dairy and sugar are going to be placed out of the ambit of the deal. Why so? Because these have been our primary crops of concern as far as Indian agriculture sector is concerned. Bulk of what the Indian farmers produce are not part of this deal, which is how India has managed to protect its agriculture sector. Agri imports from the United States will be items not produced on a big scale in India, also focusing on those items which India perhaps needs, like cheese and other products. Agricultural imports from the United States will not be of mass consumption items. Remember, in the EU FTA, this is how India also protected its concerns by, in fact, opening the market to their cheese, to wines. These are items that are always welcomed in the Indian market. You're looking at US almonds, cashew, pecan, walnut, pistachio. They will all be part of the deal. Remember, they've already been getting imported from the United States, and so you'll see a wider range of products on your shelves. India and the United States are all set to now issue a joint statement by next week. 4 to 5 days is what the Union Commerce Minister Shri Piyush Goyal had said yesterday. The first tranche of the deal is going to be signed in March after the finalization. Remember, what's important to note is that after this joint statement is declared, you can expect an executive order being signed by the US President Donald Trump, and post that order, the first tranche of the BTA will be worked on in the month of March. Let me quickly bring in our input people. I can see I'm joined in by Pallavi Ghosh, Abhimanyu Sharma of CNBC TV 18, also joined in by Aman Sharma. Many thanks to you all for joining in. Abhimanyu, what are you learning from the Commerce Ministry sources in terms of how soon can we expect at least a joint statement?
Well, the first tranche of the BTA is already prepared, and that's what the Commerce Ministry had indicated, that, and both the sides are hoping to sign a joint statement in the next few days, and post that a formal agreement would be drafted, and it is likely to be signed by the mid of March. Now, as far as tariff reduction is concerned, both from the American side as well as from the Indian side, now the tariff reduction by the US would possibly be undertaken via an executive order once the joint statement is signed. And on the other hand, India, which applies MFN tariffs, that is the most favored nation tariffs on the MFN principle, they can be reduced only when the legal agreement is signed. So there is a procedure which both the sides will have to undertake as far as signing of the agreement is concerned. Also, what the US had indicated that India is looking to import goods worth $500 billion from the US over the next 5 years. The Commerce Ministry had also broken it down. So government sources had indicated that there are products which can't be substituted locally, and for which import substitution cannot be undertaken. So those products which mandatorily need to be imported into India from different geographies, from different economies, they currently are valued at around $300 billion US. Now, they comprise of commodities like oil, gas, aircrafts, ICT products, that is IT products, as well as products which are used in data centers. Now, amidst the current push for data centers by the union government, there is an expectation that the demand for such products is going to significantly rise, and the demand for oil and gas also is going to significantly rise. with an overall development and overall progress in the economy. And India expects to overall import $500 billion worth of these products from the United States as part of its overall strategy to diversify
Right.
its imports from across geographies, to have some degree of leverage as far as the price point is concerned. So
So
India is looking to
Abhimanyu, just
increase its
before I
import.
quickly go across to Pallavi and Aman also, correct me if I'm wrong, because yesterday Piyush Goyal also said that there's no commitment in terms of a ballpark figure as had been stated by the US President. Share more details with us.
Well, there is no commitment as far as any investment is concerned. But as far as increase of bilateral trade is concerned, both the sides were looking to reach a bilateral. They were looking to double their bilateral trade over the period of next 5 years. So there is no commitment. There is no hard and fast
Okay.
commitment per se, since the final draft is yet to come out in the public domain. But both the sides have learned to have reached an understanding that they are going to increase their bilateral trade across sectors, across goods and services,
All right.
which will include a host of products, a bouquet of products, not just for oil and gas and energy, but also across several other sectors in which India's agri exports may also get a boost with respect to export of more value added products. And on the other hand, India will keep on importing several
Right.
premium products, premium agri products, which anyway keep on getting imported. Now, there was earlier a concern about the import of Washington apples, but in any case, India is a net importer of
Yes.
apples, and there is a minimum import price, which anyway keeps getting applied onto apples to protect the domestic growers and the domestic agri sector.
All right, so this is how India is trying to, in fact, arrive upon a win-win deal over here. Many thanks to you, Abhimanyu, for bringing us all those latest inputs. I'm being told that Ambassador Sajanhar is also joining us on the broadcast. But if I could quickly go across to Pallavi. Pallavi, rice, wheat, soybean, corn, dairy and sugar being placed out of this deal. Do you see this as a big achievement from the Indian side?
I think it's not just about the Indo-US trade deal. In fact, all the FTAs or bilateral trade agreements which we've signed up with other countries as UK, EFTA, EU, whether it's New Zealand. And New Zealand, mind you, was putting a lot of pressure on India that, we have to import dairy products from them, but we stood our ground. I think the cardinal principle which really has been followed, Akanksha, is that our farmers are priority for us. Nothing is going to be done where our farmers' interests are going to be affected. So in terms of US trade deal, I'm certainly not surprised that the interests of our farmers, our fishermen, our small industries have been protected, because that's the principle on which we've begun, or the benchmark on which all the negotiations of all the bilateral and the FTAs have taken place. And even if when you look at the, kind of the strata of imports which are going to be allowed from American products, none of them are considered to be damaging or competitive as far as the Indian counterparts are concerned. For example, the same example which Abhimanyu was given, and this is exactly what the Commerce Minister also told us that day at the press conference. For example, how much of almonds for India is manufacturing or producing. So that is one sector which is not going to hurt us. Dry fruits like pistachio, Californian almonds, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Certain varieties of rice which is not produced in India, but which is not going to hurt our economy and the interest of our fishermen, is also going to be allowed in a limited manner. So not the interest of our labor-intensive industries, of our fishermen, of our farmers, all of them stand protected.
Aman, as Pallavi is highlighting, this is exactly what a mutually beneficial deal is meant to be, because agri imports from US will be items that are not produced on a large scale in India. As Pallavi was highlighting, you're also looking towards, say, increase in, say, import of nuts, California almonds, you're looking at pistachio, you're looking at various other products, perhaps even cheese and wine, like the way we've seen in the EU-India FTA as well.
Well, Akanksha, the big story is, and the exclusive that we are breaking today morning is from top government sources clarifying key aspects of the proposed India-US trade deal. What top sources are telling us that Indian agriculture, mass consumption food items will remain protected, because there's a lot of chatter in parliament and political circles, and Congress is alleging that the government has basically sold off the farmers' interest. To that, the government is very, very clearly saying that staples such as rice, wheat, soybean, corn, dairy products, and sugar, these 6 products are in fact completely outside the ambit of the agreement. These address concerns around the food security and farmer interests of officials are stressing that the bulk of what Indian farmers produce will not be impacted, as agricultural imports from the US will largely be limited to items that are not produced at scale in India. So, these imports, what top government sources are telling us, will not include mass consumption commodities that could disrupt, domestic markets. Among the agriculture products expected to feature in the deal are, American almonds, cashews, pecans, walnuts, pistachios. The emphasis, what top government sources are telling us, is on niche and premium segments rather than staples. We already heard from Piyush Goyal that the trade deal could formally be signed as early as March, and both sides could issue a joint statement within the next 4 to 5 days. But I think what Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan also said last evening is extremely important. He's saying it on record, in fact, that the agreement fully safeguards India's agricultural interests, particularly those of the farm and the dairy sectors. He's clearly also saying, Shivraj Chauhan has gone on record to say that India's staple grains, fruits, major crops, millets, and dairy products remain completely secure and face no threat whatsoever. So the interests of our small and large farmers alike have been fully protected. In fact, the agreement, Mr. Chauhan says, is creating fresh opportunities rather than, risks for Indian agriculture. So these apprehensions being, expressed by the Congress or the opposition parties, that, India's farmer interests have been traded off in this particular deal. Top government sources as well as the agriculture minister is going on record to say that is absolutely not true.
Ambassador Sajjan Har, quickly weigh in on the kind of politicization that's been taking place, as has been highlighted by Aman as well. And with, the Commerce Minister and the Agriculture Minister now sharing all of these very crucial details, especially with rice, soybean, corn and wheat being kept out of the deal. Finally, farmers can indeed heave a sigh.